to K21 Academy. In this video, we will be having a group mock interview where an expert will be telling the roles of senior solution architect, focusing on essential skills and responsibilities required. You will learn about cloud migration, application modernization, and data management with a special focus on stringent compliance standard like PCI. Discovering how financial institutions ensure uptime with multi-cloud strategies, we will also cover the importance of cost optimization and customer advocacy in delivering the best solutions. Join us to deliver valuable insight into the mock interview process into cloud architecture for financial services.
So it's actually a senior solution architect role. Pradeep, is your first round over?
So yeah, 2 rounds are complete. I mean, one was like just assessment and then like first round was over. So this, they said like it is a technical phone call. So they'll go on experience and that is what they said. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one was screening, which is done. What is this service? What do you use this for, and so on.
Yes.
Second round, what did they ask you about?
So first round was that, and second round, like they sent me an assessment, online assessment. Like they asked about like different things, basically. Like one was application development, modernization, and then migration, and about data as well. So data migration and all that. Yeah.
It's more of, again, how to and what to use.
Yes, scenario based, but it was like online assessment.
Right. All right. Oh, okay. Got it. So, Pradeep, this being, they've clearly mentioned it's for financial services. Okay. Senior solution architect, financial services. Solution architect does not just about migrating the workloads to cloud. Okay. They, when it comes to fintech, it's even more stringent compliances, right? You're handling payment card, the credit card details, transactions. It could be banks. Applications are hosted in cloud. For example, I know some banks, which is based out of the UK, they're hosting their workloads currently in AWS. But the same replica is also being hosted in GCP. If at all, if the entire AWS goes down for some reason, they can still run the same applications from another cloud provider, which is Google or Azure. So this is how the fintech industry works on cloud, because for that, even if you give 99.99999 SLA, that is still not enough, because even 1 minute of downtime a month or 1 minute of downtime every 3 months is going to cost them millions of dollars. So in the third round, you may expect a few questions around cloud for financial services organization. What are the compliances, like PCI compliance? Have you heard of PCI compliance? Payment card industry compliance.
I know some of it, like masking of.
Correct. If you have a CVV, let's say you're doing some credit card transaction, your customer's CVV must not be exposed as a plain text. It must be masked in the database. Or if you're storing their any other sensitive information, it should not be exposed. And all data must be encrypted at transit and in rest. You must use your own managed keys. I don't want Microsoft to be using their managed key, because again, for compliance purposes. Apart from that, you will also have a lot of audit. Every 90 days, you need to fail over and fail back your DR, because any financial services, they don't run only in AWS, right? They will run it in multiple regions in AWS, multiple zones. You will have to do a DR drill, disaster recovery drill. You will fail over from one region to another, check if everything works, and then you will fail back after the drill. It's just like a fire drill. Every 6 months in your office, we do a fire drill, right? Like they just press the buzzer and then everybody goes to the assembly area just to check if people are being able to evacuate within few minutes. Is the emergency systems working fine? So just the same as the fire drill, we will also be doing a DR drill, disaster recovery drill, for the cloud services, just to check if everything works fine from one place to another. So these are on the theory, okay, when they it clearly says you will be part of this sales and marketing group. It is mainly for running revenue generation and migration, pitching cloud for your from customers. But you as a solution architect, you will be working with them, sales and marketing team. So you are the technical guy who will either go for the meetings or connect with your customers with the sales and marketing team to propose what would be the right solution for their current issues and services that they're facing. It must be flexible and resilient. Resilient means you need to have more than one at any given time. One replica of database is not enough. You need at least 3 or 5. You cannot have one server hosting the website. It needs to be at least 3 or 5 or 10. You cannot have single point of failure anywhere. When you're designing a solution, it must be scalable, but it should also be resilient. If there is no resiliency, it defies the purpose of running it on cloud. So you work with, correct, like I said, you work with the sales team and other teams to help address the customer business challenges, and then you will generate more money. So it's mainly like a pre-sale architect. So they will have some setup. How can I modify it for AWS and what services to be used in AWS? How can I leverage it? And because you're a solution architect, even though you will help your sales guys meet their numbers, your job is not as a revenue machine, someone who brings in money. It's about the customer advocate. You will propose what is right. Even though cloud is cheaper, if it is not the right solution, you will tell them that's not the right way. So it's not just that I want to generate another $10, $100, $10,000 to AWS. You will propose what is right for the customer, not which one is most profitable for you as a cloud vendor. That's why I said it's mainly advices on strategies. How can we migrate the workloads to cloud, and then how can we modernize them for the newer technologies like containers, serverless, Kubernetes, microservices, and so on. So these are the daily responsibilities pretty much for every solution architect. But my only concern is that they've clearly mentioned it's for fintech, like senior solution architect, financial services, senior solution architect, manufacturing, senior solution architect, food and beverage, senior solution architect for startups, senior solution architect for large enterprise and government, senior solution architect for digital natives, the companies that were born on cloud, AWS, Azure. They don't have any on-premise presence. It's completely on cloud. So each segment will have a different set of process, different set of policies, compliance, different requirements. If I'm a large enterprise or a government, for me, I will have even more compliance. My data must be in this place. It should have so-and-so data centers. There should be no latency more than 0.5 seconds. There will be more when you're working on an RFP. What is an RFP, Pradeep?
Request
for proposal.
a proposal, yeah.
Okay. RFPs is basically when a government issues a tender saying that, listen, we are looking for so-and-so services. Whoever wants to apply, they can apply. When they apply for it, you will get a checklist, 2 to 3 PDF documents, legal documents that says this must be met. It is at least like 120, 150 page document. The cloud vendor should have this. They should be able to meet this requirement, and we want so-and-so latency. The data should not be limited. It should be able to scale. It should be resilient. It should be so-and-so, everything. Okay, almost 100, 150 page document. And then they'll also give you an Excel sheet that you will have to say, yes, met, compliant, non-compliant, not possible. Yes, no, not applicable. So this is how a RFP works. So for each industry, it will have different set of requirements. So keep that in mind, okay? Like you will be able to answer what is what. You will be able to answer about any data services, but how can you implement that on the fintech?
Okay.
That to try to come up with questions or ask ChatGPT, and then how can I'm a senior solution architect who works primarily on data. Now I have an interview for a senior solution architect in AWS, and it is specifically on financial services. What are the key things that I have to keep in mind when working on proposing a solution for fintech companies. So that they'll give you specific questions or things that you got to keep in mind for fintech. If it is for manufacturing, it's different. Digital native, different. Other industry, healthcare is another bigger critical industry, right? Healthcare is basically you're handling patients' data, MRI reports, X-rays, doctor prescriptions. And if there is one attack, it can cost somebody's life because the treatments can be mismatched. We don't know what was done in the last visit. It is much more complex than we think. So fintech, healthcare, government services, these are like extremely critical, okay? Because it's not just about they losing their data, it's about the company's reputation is at stake, and one attack, it can come down crashing. So you as a solution architect, how do you ensure all of these are taken care while being compliant? Okay, so participate in deep architectural discussion, design exercises. You will create world-class solutions on AWS, ensuring they are designed for successful deployments. You will author and contribute a lot of customer. Okay, so I'll talk about this in partnership with sales. You will formulate what's the right pricing, what's the right service to be used, how do we mix and match the services in AWS that will best suit the requirements. This is basically a customer will have a solution architect. You will also work with them just to understand how, what, and everything. How can you upskill them? Because that's, again, not a solution, but you still need to make sure that once you're off the project, who is going to manage it for them? I had a meeting with a customer of mine today. It's a Microsoft customer. They already are very good in security. They are a security partner. They know how to work on a lot of security services. But he came to me for some advice or consulting on, listen, we already have close to 7 big customers. We are managing the entire SOC, security center. I think it's command center. We want to know what are the ways we can be proactive in making sure that our techs are trained, and then we also know what's coming in the future. So we told them about the various Azure certifications, like where to start, what's the first level, second level, and then the cybersecurity expert. And then now Azure has a new product which is going to be launched for all the customers. So there's going to be a certification on that, and that's going to be even more popular. Just like ChatGPT, Microsoft has another product which is coming up soon, and it will be pushed to all of our computers. So literally every Windows machine will have that product pre-installed. And it's an AI service. So technically we all are carrying ChatGPT, and it can do 10x more than a ChatGPT. So that's definitely going to be like a much more popular, because whether you like it or not, you will have that on your machine. So you'll start using it. People who don't know ChatGPT will definitely use this service because it's right in front of them. So we suggested we should be able to upskill on these services before it becomes mainstream, so that you are future ready. So this is, again, like I as a consultant or a technical consultant, I'm telling him, even though it has nothing to do with revenue generation, it's about enabling my partners to be able to do things on their own. That's also your job. You don't just go tell me like 500 machines you want to migrate. I'll click, migrate it, and this is how you do it. Give me my incentive. That's not your job. Okay? You will work with them to make sure that they have enough capabilities on how to do the things that you expect them to do. How can they make sure that without having to go through you for every request, they should be self-sufficient. All these things will also come in as your responsibility. It's not like, okay, project is over, let me just go back or leave. Keep that in mind. And yeah, best practices, all these in the AWS community forums. There will be some travel. One thing is, see, there is in AWS, most of the solution architects that I worked with, and my previous job was with AWS, right? I was an AWS partner. So for 2.5 years, I was working with AWS employees, solution architects mainly. So most of them, they actually contribute so much to their internal communities through articles and various things. Okay, just 1 second. I'll show you one of it, which AWS organization account. I'll show you one of it. There are like plenty. Bunch of member. So almost every, except this docs.aws, which is basically the AWS documentation. Most of it, AWS blogs are 100% written by their employees only. For anything that you take, any services that you take, big data, for example, like what we just saw. Okay. See such things like Chani Young. Most of these guys are their own employees. And then this is a proof of concept. He would have tried something and then he writes a blog on how to implement it. It's basically how to use guard duty for malware protection of your S3 bucket. So he creates a S3 bucket and then he enables that on the S3 bucket. And what are the rules that we can set? If there is no threats, then go ahead and push it to the next level. So these are the things that you would, he's a principal developer associate, right? So like this, you will also have to start contributing. If you have done something, let's say you have a YouTube video uploaded, let's say you have some Medium blogs that you have written. So anything like that, if you have it, just explain it or just post it or share the links so that they know that, okay, you deserve to be here. It's not just a guy that I'm hiring and then I need to train him. Okay. So this is also one of the things that you would expect, because it's not about giving the solution. Let's say I'm working with a company, Netflix. Netflix, they are a AWS company, right? AWS customer. So I give an amazing solution that kind of solves a bigger problem for them. And then I can actually come here and then write what did I do without having to mention the name of the customer, so that you can share it and somebody else who is facing the same problem can actually take this and then resolve it for themselves. So that's how you actually give it back to the community, not just your customers who need some help. So all of these are definitely required. Like solution is needed, but you'll have to contribute beyond your customers. And thirdly, it is not just about generating money for AWS. It is about maintaining the customer relationships also, because these are like 5 years, 10 years, maybe it will go longer than that. So for that one time migration that I'm getting a $50,000 as a revenue, and then after they migrate it, if you tell them it's not my headache, they'll just close their contract and then go back to on-prem. So don't look for instant or immediate solution. I was actually reading some LinkedIn blog where it said, Kubernetes, right? People who are in this meeting, have you guys know containers and Kubernetes?
Yes.
Kubernetes is not a short-term solution. I have a problem with my application. It's not going to work. Let me just go to Kubernetes. That's not how Kubernetes works. Kubernetes is for the long term. It takes time for people to learn Kubernetes. It takes time for your application to be modified and compatible for Kubernetes. After you host it on Kubernetes, to reap the benefits of that scaling, auto-healing, security, ease of management, cloud agnostic, all these advantages, you will take time for even to utilize all of it. But like I said, it's one-time effort. You move it and then it is here to stay for the next 5 to 10 years. You have a process in place, you have an automation in place, and then your growth is set. So if I go propose Kubernetes to somebody who doesn't know what is Kubernetes, he'll be like, what I'm doing now is much, much easier and simpler. I don't need this thing because it is going to take at least 2 years for me to get better at it. But eventually, everybody will sooner or later move their workloads to Kubernetes, and then you're going to be the last man out. So don't look for instant gratifications or instant solution, like restart the server, it should work. So it's better find out what is the problem, give a fix, a permanent fix, give a solution which is good for them on the long run. Maybe it will cost some time, maybe 2 to 3 months, or even few hundred or thousands of dollars, but the return on investment must be much, much higher. The time that I've invested and the money that I'm going to put in, if I get it in like 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, I'm still good because I'm going to use it for next 10 years. So anything after that 9 months, it's all win-win for me. Okay. So these are the things that you got to keep in mind, if at all. In terms of tech skills, I have no doubt on you. You will be able to convince them or answer them because you have past experience. Just make sure that you demonstrate some accountability on you being the what is it? You're not just a solution architect. You're that tech guide or the technical advocate for the customer. What is right? What is wrong? You will have to propose it. So whatever the answers you're giving, ensure that you demonstrate that. It's not like what is what. Okay, that's it. It's issues resolved. But you have to convince why did you say this rather than something else. Why did you suggest this customer to go with Postgres when MySQL is also open source? If you have a valid answer that is convincing enough, then we are good. And keep some links, or if you have any blogs or videos that you have created, keep those ready, because that again shows that we want to help others, even though we may not get anything in return, just to share the word of knowledge, like what people do on LinkedIn. At least it helps them grow their community or their followers. But in Medium and so on, it is almost nothing other than just giving it back to the community.
Yeah.
Okay.
I some articles on LinkedIn, but they are not like as thorough as a blog. It is more giving information.
Understood. Yeah, even that's fine. It has not anything that has some valuable information is still good.
Yeah.
Okay. Now coming to the business end, all these, what I can answer, how to do it is fine. If they ask you to share the screen and then design a solution, will you be able to do it? Have you practiced it? Do you have any past experience in doing it?
Architecture diagram, yes, I can do it.
Using what tools?
So I think I did
Visio, is it?
not Visio. I used
Raw.io.
Draw.io. Yes, that was the one. Yes.
Okay. So
yeah. So
you have plugins and everything ready, because in Draw.io you can draw Azure, you can draw AWS and everything, right?
Architecture, AWS I downloaded as well. Yes.
Perfect. So if you have already downloaded the AWS icons, then try practicing it. Go through some architecture from here. AWS Architecture Center. And I'll just go for data. Big data will take databases.
Okay.
So keep in mind about some cost optimizations also, because regardless of where you run, definitely cost is one of the key consideration for any customer to be on cloud. Okay.
So when we say cost optimization, like it is like putting all the watches, budgets and everything, and then additional to that using reserved instances wherever possible, and like using savings plan and all that, correct? Or
what instances, auto start and auto shut down of your non-critical workloads.
okay.
Using the right storage type, removing all the unnecessary IP addresses.
Okay.
Like clean up all the disks and snapshots which are like more than 6 months or 1 year old. And your data in it, if you don't need it, delete there. So in each service, there is a way you can save cost.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, and then give the solution accordingly. Like first you understand what they have,
Mm-hmm.
and then give the options accordingly. So Oracle e-business suite, and users are here. They connect to the Amazon workspaces. Each of them get their own EC2 instances, and from here they have the application hosted on EC2 application top, and then you have another application which is hosted in the public subnet, and it is protected with WAF. So basically 1, 2, and then you have a load balancer, and then beneath it you have the private load balancer, and you have WAF for all the traffic that goes in and comes out. So if you wish, you can just download this zip file, which is an editable document. Just try to make it a little more complex or clean it up, because it looks very vague for me. It doesn't look like a very proper one. So try to modify it. Okay. And you can see IoT analytics. So they have the factory where the sensors, temperature control, PLC boards, all of it is here. And all the IoT devices are sending their sensor data, either as a time series data or whatever the data it is supposed to receive. It's sending everything to IoT core. Because it is real-time data, we don't do it in batch processing. Every second or every 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it just keeps coming in, just like YouTube comments and likes and Facebook and likes and comments. So to process that streaming data, we need Kinesis. Okay. Now, the data which is coming to IoT core is being processed through Kinesis, and raw data is being stored in S3. And then you curate the data. From raw data, you go and process it, and then you feed it into this OpenShift Red Hat service. Red Hat OpenShift service, which is nothing but, what is OpenShift?
OpenShift.
Red Hat OpenShift, what is it?
Is it similar to Azure Synapse, like a high-performance data warehouse kind of form?
That is Redshift in AWS. This is Red Hat OpenShift. Redshift, not Red Hat OpenShift. OpenShift is nothing but a container orchestration from Red Hat. It's a competitor for Kubernetes.
Okay.
Okay, so the data what you have, you're feeding it into, let's say, instead of this IBM or OpenShift cluster, you can even have a EKS cluster, a Kubernetes cluster. So it's just a container orchestration service. You're running a lot of containers to process the data. So once the data, everything is processed, knowledge catalog, you're training the model, and then it's a machine learning model, right? So the raw data is processed, fed into the OpenShift cluster. It is training your Watson machine learning, and then the output is stored here. And then infrequently used data is stored in Glacier. And then all that output or the trained data, you can serve it to your engineers. So that what's the actual purpose of this, Pradeep? Why do you think? So this architecture, forget about this OpenShift. Let's say it's a Kubernetes or it's just some VMs running something. What problem is this solving for me?
So if you do it in batch, like you will not have the most real-time analysis on the data. So this is doing that in real-time analysis, which will be giving like real-time input, and like based on the decisions can be made in real time.
Okay, so in this scenario, factory edge devices, which are sending the sensors from the factory. So basically you're taking the data from sensors, feeding it into the machine learning algorithm or servers to train your data. Okay, now you got the output, and now the output can be viewed by supervisors, operators in the factory. What can they improve with that data, what they're getting? Just take any imaginary company, glass manufacturing or a machinery or Tesla factory. Just imagine anything. This left side factory edge devices is nothing but a Tesla factory. Now, the data from the car manufacturing factory is fed into this machine learning studio. And now, what kind of output data can you expect? And what do you do with that output data? Give me a problem and come up with its own solution.
So one problem is basically like If the devices are going bad or something, like that is one, like they could real time get the feed and based on that. Or it could be like some kind of data the devices are processing, and based on that data, analysis will be done to make decisions. For example, if your basically it is
For quality of the products, right? So, for example, when a car is being painted or a car's door is being assembled, with your naked eye, you may not be able to see if it is hooked properly or the nut and bolt are tightened properly. But maybe my IoT sensor, with the data it is sending it to my ML studio, just I will be able to know that how accurate it is. I can just, for example, I'll give you an example of a project that I worked. You know about Saint Gobain glass manufacturing.
yes.
So they implemented an IoT solution to detect the cracks on the glasses. Okay, they manufacture glass, right, for all the industry applications and home usage. So when the glass is so hot and it's transparent, we may not actually know if there is a crack in it. But this IoT sensors with the cameras, they were able to check if there is any air gaps, cracks, or if the thickness of the glass is maybe 0.1 inch lesser than what it is expected to be. All that they were able to forecast, and then they were able to resolve it even before it leaves the factory. Do you see that? It's because they are immediately able to analyze it and then get the output, so they can just stop if there is a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one. This architecture can be attributed to that. So it could be a Tesla factory or a Saint Gobain factory, and whatever is happening here is being instantly fed. Every second the data comes in and it's being processed through Kinesis, stored in S3, and then it's fed into the Kubernetes clusters or OpenShift clusters for analysis in real time. Here you will have your LLM models, you will have your machine learning models. Everything is running in these computers. So the data, what it is coming, it will know, oops, there is a variance. It is supposed to be 1.0. Now I see the data is 0.97. So immediately you will know that operators will know there is something wrong here.
Yeah.
Okay. DynamoDB global replication. It's a serverless architecture. It's purely on the DynamoDB. Do you know about DynamoDB? Have you worked on it before?
But I know what DynamoDB does. Basically, it is NoSQL database service where you have flexibility in the schema. Like if using traditional, you would go with RDS. But if you are having like NoSQL, then you do use DynamoDB, and it is highly scalable and it's very fast. If the schema is changing a lot, then you use DynamoDB.
Okay.
Structure.
Clear. Okay. What is the difference between DynamoDB and DocumentDB?
DocumentDB is primarily for something like so this is I think DocumentDB is for MongoDB kind of thing.
Correct. So if you have DynamoDB is also a NoSQL database, okay, but it's an AWS native product which is built from ground up.
Yeah.
So if you have a Mongo, you can still use it on DynamoDB, but there will be some compatibility. You need to do some transformation. You don't have time for it. You want to use Mongo as Mongo, but it should also be scalable. Then you can use AWS DocumentDB, which is fully managed database, but it is 100% compatible with MongoDB. Okay. So that's the difference. When both are NoSQL, when should I go for DynamoDB and when should I go for DocumentDB? I have the answer.
Yeah. Okay.
Location enabled data science with Precisely. Okay. Have you worked with Precisely?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I've not worked on it either. I don't know much about it because it's mainly on SageMaker. It pretty much doing the same thing. So you have the application and the data that is actually stored in S3 is being fetched by Precisely. In the previous architecture, it was OpenShift. Here you're doing Precisely, which is an application, managed service. And then once it is done, it's storing the output data to S3, and that data is being fed into SageMaker. What is SageMaker?
SageMaker is ML tool for doing machine learning, building the machine learning model
and training the models, right? So the data scientists can use the data, which is the process data, but using that as an input for SageMaker or to do some analysis using EMR. What is EMR?
Elastic Map Reduce.
What is it?
So it is basically if you have like distributed data for like Hadoop or Apache, like those kind of things, like you use this for processing them in parallel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So I just get that, and in case if they want to grill you on some cross cloud, what is the equivalent service that I have it on Azure? What is the equivalent service that I have it on Google? Keep those also in mind. So in case you don't need to know it, but it's better to at least talk about it, right? Like, how can I even say my EC2 or FSX is better than the other one if I don't know how good the other one is?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have something called the AWS parallel cluster, which is for HCI, hypercompute infrastructure, supercomputers. So I need to know what is the Azure equivalent of this parallel cluster, or in AWS itself, is there a better service than this? AWS batch processing, AWS parallel cluster, AWS, I think, scheduler or something was there. So if I don't know the competitor's service, it's impossible for me to give the best solution. Just because I know AWS, go to AWS. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? So at least brush up on those. If you are very good in EMR, find out what is the equivalent of EMR in the other cloud, and keep that. Then if you may have to draw, because in my AWS interviews, I was asked to create some documents and architectures. It does not have to be perfect, okay? It's not for proposing it to the customer, right? I don't need all this perfect arrows goes from here to there. But it should, because you get only 20 minutes. These things take time. I'll do some research, make some corrections, change here, there, and everything. But
okay,
on a 20-minute call, I'm not expecting perfection, but at least you need to know the walkthrough, like the flow, like how the users will connect using a site to site to the VPN server. From the VPN, they log into the EC2, and then they deploy the parallel cluster in which the data is being stored. Where is the data coming from? From the on-prem. It's offloaded to S3 bucket, and the data that they need to process is being temporarily stored in FSX. And now we run the cluster, the master node, and then the slave nodes. So the data processed, once it is done, it is again sent back to FSX, to S3, to the on-prem. So this level, at least you should be able to explain, even though the spacing, the architecture, the naming, all these things may not matter much, but it is important.
Okay.
So apart from that, I don't have much, Pradeep. Just be ready for hands-on. Don't go with one mindset that it's going to be just a Q&A again, because you already done with that Q&A twice.
Yeah.
If they're asking you to draw architecture, design an architecture, use it and be as transparent as you can, because can I take some reference from any of the architecture and then make some corrections? Or ask as many questions you want, because they give you that 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and they just go from the machine. So before you let them go, ask all the questions that you need to know. How many machines? What the operating system? What's the size of the data? Are they technically skilled? Or do they have any past experience of using AWS or Azure? Or how big is the team? After we propose a solution, who's going to migrate it, or who's going to do it for them? After the migration, will they need some help in, again, support, my AWS support, or your support in redoing something? So it's not just about, okay, place all the things here and then just hit the button, you're good to go. It is about end to end, okay, future state, current state, previous state. All of it have to be kept in mind before you give a solution, because there is no going back. If something doesn't work, you can't tell them that revert back to your previous way of doing things, because it's not working. You should have done it before you proposed it.
Mhm.
And also AWS, Azure, everybody gives you the proof of concept credits, POC credits. So if you could mention that you can also leverage it, because I want to try a new service. This architecture is for the parallel cluster is actually for a diagnostics lab based out of India. So they have a lot of blood samples, to MRI reports, bone density scanners, so much of data stored here. And they want to see if cloud can make their life easier. And they want to explore this HPC service, high performance computing service in AWS. So obviously we don't know how to use it. They don't know how to use it. Nobody has used it before. And what can I give it to them when I myself haven't used it? So we go to AWS, tell them that, listen, there's a new opportunity. They want to try the service, but they don't have the budget. So based on how much it's going to cost every month, the AWS may give you like $5,000, $1,000, $10,000 or something. You deploy the whole thing, give the access to the customer, let them do all that trial and error, destroy and recreate, do everything what they want to do, and they learn through it. If they're happy with it, they'll go with it. Okay, so because not everyone knows everything. Even you being a senior solution architect, it doesn't mean that you will know everything. You will pick it up, but you don't have it on top of your head, right? Like, hey, do you know what are we supposed to do here? Obviously, you have no clue, because let me check and I'll get back to you. Maybe I'll test it myself. Give me a few days, I'll get back to you. But you can confirm that you will figure it out and then get back to them. So to that level of transparency you should have, whether in the interview or even after the interview. Okay. So if you don't know, don't bluff, because the guy who's sitting on the other side definitely knows more than you.
Yeah.
And they will also tell you, like in India, these guys, when they take the interview, Google and Amazon, they both told me, Gokul, let's have an agreement. If you don't know something, you're going to tell me you don't know, rather than giving a bluff. Okay. If you don't know, be honest, you don't know.
Yeah.
If you can figure it out, nothing like it.
Yeah.
Okay. And after everything that you propose, there may be one last question. So the architecture is all fine. How do you ensure the entire setup end-to-end is secure? Because I was asked this question twice or thrice. So you give the right solution is all good. But now you tell me, Pradeep, looking at this HPC architecture, how can you ensure that from every step, whether from the on-prem or the NAS, what kind of security measures can I put in place to safeguard my data and network?
So primarily, I'm creating VPCs for smaller components. I see like there is public subnet and private subnet. Private subnet is not accessible from the internet. So only I'm giving following the principle of least privilege. So giving only the components which are required for access. That is one. Creating like separate VPCs. So even if it's so the blast radius is not impacting the whole system. And then you see that like wherever access I'm giving site-to-site VPN or VPC peering, all those are like separate components which has that encryption at rest and encryption in transit, that kind of thing. And then I'm using, if I see on the top, I'm using the KMS, I'm using CloudTrail for monitoring, CloudWatch, all those governance things. And then
What are you doing for data security?
for data security, primarily it is securely stored encryption. So you don't give everybody access. So I am access only to the folders or where the data is stored. It is already encrypted because AWS already gives that encryption. Addition on top of that, during transit and during transit and rest, it is already encrypted, and you can use HTTPS secure way to transfer.
Okay. And what about IAM rights? How do you ensure that no unauthorized people can?
Yeah. So IAM, like you give only restricted access, and it's already secure, like because you use KMS at the data wise, but IAM like only user, like there are like different policies you could use, SCPs, and like which will allow only the correct user to get access to the data. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have any idea on what is landing zones? AWS landing zone?
Landing zones are like where ultimately the data, I mean the from legacy to AWS, where the it will ultimately be moved to, that is creating that landing zone.
No, no, it's not one. So just check it, because the reason I answer about landing zone is because it is for any new customers, big customers who are coming to AWS, they will need to have a landing zone ready. With only then they can actually move their workloads. So this is what a landing zone is. Okay. Basically, you're creating different AWS accounts, shared services account, log account, security account. And then these services are like KMS, IAM, all of it is stored in a different service. And then the services that can manage all these accounts, like AWS organization, SSO, your DevOps pipelines, all these management groups are stored in the primary account or the main management account. So this is what a landing zone is. I'll show you a complex one, which is this. Now look at it. So you have different account. Application account 1, in which you will host the application and DBs. Application account 2, app and DB. Both are associated to your UK regions, okay? And then this is for prod, this is for dev. And then there's, let's say, US region. There are 2 accounts. So it's basically landing zone is you segregate the resources, applications, subscriptions, everything as a for better segregation. One of it is the blast radius is lesser, and the other one is for better management. For if you're the guy who's in data, so multi account out of it, home, shared service, a production account. Okay, so I want you to deploy or manage something that is in this account. But if I don't have this segregation of different accounts and management groups, Pradeep will have literally access to everything, because all I have is just one account and all my eggs are in the one basket. Now, Pradeep is working on a production issue. He's supposed to be from the data team. To grant access to Pradeep to this account, this one service alone. I don't want him to see this or this. So this is basically a landing zone is just at least read about it so you can explain it to the guy in the interview.
Definitely.
Okay, so it's not very complex. Like you can just learn about it in 30 minutes. That's it, Pradeep. Just focus on these. Be ready in case if they want to drill you. Be ready for it, because these roles demand extremely high skills and experience. So it wouldn't be easy, but it's worth it.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, if you want to discuss after the interview, whatever it is, just message Atisha so that we can get in touch and then do it.
Okay. Gokul, like, can you share your LinkedIn? I just want to connect if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it is absolutely fine. Once again.
Yeah, this session was really helpful. Like I attended like previous, but this was like deep dive into like what I need to focus on. Definitely.
So we were able to go line by line.
Yeah. Definitely very helpful, very learning experience.
Okay. And that's my